Right, we're here. We're live. Okay, guys, welcome to Instamotion Animation Server. We're going to be having today a very special guest, Shane the Ring. Is an animator and director at Adult Swim. He has been doing a couple of really insane projects, and we have it over here to ask some questions. Welcome, man.
Thanks, man. It's nice to be here.
Woo. Okay, man. So whew, I'm a little bit nervous, though, but
I'm nervous. I'm nervous.
let's be
I
nervous
have
again.
never been.
Right.
I haven't been in a Discord chat with this many people before.
Oh
In
man,
voice chat.
all the eyes are on you, man. So today we're gonna be having our team, it's the motion team. We're gonna be having Andy, our community manager. We're gonna be having Corgi, Oscar, Persephone, Marcelo, and as well as our special guest, Shane. What we're gonna be talking about today is gonna be about small animations. We're trying to do our own animated, independent projects over here on the server. So our goal is to have the best information from Shane. Shane is an artist that I have studied for many years, and I have noticed something in his work that is very consistent. He actually focuses on building short animations with interesting music, interesting shots, something that as well tells a little bit of the character that I really think is really successful and has helped him a lot to grow his social media, to get jobs. And I just want to get a little bit more of that information. All right. Okay, man. So let me start with a couple of questions. First, I think number one, I think this is the one that what I want to know a little bit more is how do you start working with Adult Swim? How did it happen? Tell us a story.
Okay, I'll tell you a story. I uh, I was in college in 2014, um, and I had at that point I had been making animations for a few years when I was in high school, and I've been posting them online on Newgrounds. I don't know if anybody
Yes.
remembers or is still on Newgrounds, but um, that was kind of a really cool like animation, like Flash animation community back in like the mid 2000s and stuff. So I'd put some of my work online, and had like a few like small freelance gigs with a couple studios around that time, and I was looking for like a summer internship. And I was going to school in Tennessee, in the US, and Adult Swim is based in Atlanta, Georgia. So I knew it would be kind of like maybe that could be a studio I could work for the summer or something, since I was so close to it. Because I think I was only like 6 hours away, so I could drive there. And um, I just kind of got lucky, to be honest. I cut together like my first demo reel ever, and I applied through like their proper like job portal thing, summer of 2014, for a design internship with the creative department, and I had no idea what that even meant because I didn't really know anything about I didn't know anything about like graphic design, and I didn't understand like what a creative department was, like why they called it the creative department. I thought that sounded kind of like childish or something. I didn't realize that that's what they called it, and that's like a common term is like the creative department, which at least in Adult Swim, it means a group of artists that work on all like design and illustration for like everything that's off air Adult Swim. So
Hmm.
all the billboards, all of the posters, like um, all of the marketing ads and like T-shirts and anything you can think of that's if it's art that's Adult Swim that's not the actual show itself, then they produce it. So even like the thumbnails on like Netflix and HBO. So I just applied. I had no idea what I was applying for, and I also totally lied on my application, um, because I had never done graphic design. My only experience at that point was just illustration and animation. So this wasn't an animation position at all. It wasn't really even an illustration. It was just a basic graphic design internship, and I kind of like I don't know. I guess maybe they liked they thought I was interesting, because I wanted to be an animator, but I was applying for a different position. But they were fun to talk to, and they wanted to bring me on for the summer, so I went to Atlanta and didn't do any animating. I just learned a lot about the way they do things there with design. So I got to do some billboards and some posters, and eventually they started to trust me a little bit more, and they let me start doing some illustration. So then I started doing like T-shirt designs for Comic Con, for Toonami. Um,
Noise.
that was awesome. I grew up watching anime on Toonami.
Yes, sir. Yes.
That was like that was my first experience with Japanese animation. At the time or before then, like I'd seen it but didn't understand really what it was, um, until Toonami. Then I was like, oh, it's from Japan and it's done it's done a certain way, and it's different from like the stuff I've seen in America. But yeah, that first internship was really transformative for me. I learned so much. I kind of felt like I was in a pressure cooker for like 3 months, and because I'd never done it up until that point. I did a few freelance jobs, but they weren't that big. So before that, before my first internship, it was just like a hobby for me, and I'd never like taken it. I'd taken it seriously, but I hadn't experienced what it was like to work like 40-hour, 50-hour weeks,
Well, yeah.
where all I was doing was art. I was used to like maybe 10, 20 in the summers, maybe 30, but it was like at my own leisure. So that was a really cool experience to like wake up every day and like sort of have to do it. And it kind of sounds stressful, but it was cool. And yeah, I think that I felt like I grew in skill by like a year or two in just 3 months with everything that I was like trying to absorb. But yeah, I had two other internships after that, in 2015 and 16 before I graduated college, all for the design group. And so I really didn't do that much animation at that time for Adult Swim. It was mainly just design and illustration. But I really value that time learning those skills because it's something I didn't think I would learn or be interested in, and I think it definitely influenced like how I make animation now.
Mm.
Because some of those like hardcore graphic design chops that I sort of picked up from like the pros there at the time, I think it really helped me with like composition and I guess just sort of like design and or just like concepting. Yeah, concepting, composition, color, staging, some things that maybe get overlooked a little bit in like animation programs or people who are working in animation because they kind of jump into just the animation. And so I sort of had like an inverse approach, or I guess not an approach. I would have preferred to go just get like I wished at the time that the internship was for animation, but I had an inverse approach where I learned like design first, and I sort of considered myself for a while to be a designer who animated. Um, so I've been trying to the past 5 years flip that to be, oh, I want to be an animator who also designs, but I guess sort of like my professional roots kind of started with design and illustration. So that's how I got in there. It was kind of all luck. I don't know. I applied to a lot of places for internships, and I think I just kind of got lucky
How
that
many?
they
How
trusted me.
many? Like how many? Like this is a common question that we have. Like how many studios should I apply? Like, do you remember how many studios you applied?
Dozens. Just any place I could see that was doing anything related to something I might want to do. And it could be discouraging. I mean, like there at the time, and maybe still so. There weren't many jobs or internships for animation, or at least that type of animation I want to do. Like the
Yeah.
hand drawn 2D stuff. So I just started applying for anything that was art related, um, to just like get some experience and do some work and learn some stuff. And but yeah, dozens. I mean, probably like 30 or 40 places. Um, and yeah, if you want to hear a horror story about one
Okay.
of a place that like when I didn't know too much about how the industry worked or how like freelance worked, how to like price your animation and your work and everything, and like should you do a day rate or hourly or per project or whatever? I didn't know anything about that, and I missed out, I think, on a good opportunity probably about like right before right before I got the Adult Swim internship. Um, the studio called Wiz Design. Maybe you've heard. I think it's called Wiz,
Yeah.
Wizz. Um, they reached out to me through Instagram, and they're like, "Hey, do you want to do something for us for this thing?" Blah blah blah. And I was like, "Yeah." And then they're like, "What's your day rate?" And I had no idea what that meant. And so I said, "Well," I was like, "I don't know. I did this thing for like my college, and they paid me this." And then they didn't respond to me. They didn't respond to that email, and I was like, "Oh fuck, I messed it up." Um, but it's kind of funny. Ever like 6 years later or something, I wound up working with Wiz, um, like a year ago. I think I worked with different people than were there who initially reached out to me. Hopefully, nobody remembers that. But yeah, there were it was many fumbles like that over the years trying to like figure stuff out. Definitely a
You
lot
should be
of
like,
applying to
hey, you
everywhere.
finally picked my portfolio. I see. Thank you, guys. It's been a couple of years, though.
Hey, thank you for getting back to me.
Well, but that's a super interesting. Like, I see like how you did this inverse, let's say, journey where you like most people think about like, okay, the way to get into the industry is just by animation or character design. And sometimes even like by just starting with a graphic design internship, it can move you towards there, like learning as well is a huge experience. Like, for example, you move from graphic design to learn like the design principles, and then from there as well applying illustration. So now, what happened? What you did? Like, when did you feel it was the moment where you had the opportunity to actually animate, and you say like, okay, this is finally the time. Like my first shot, I gotta get it right. Or did that moment happen to you?
Yes, but before that happened, I wasn't really getting an opportunity to do any animation work
Hmm.
at Adult Swim or anywhere else, and so I just decided, well, I'm gonna keep doing my thing and try to do these internships, and I'm just gonna start animating
Ah,
before like I don't care about getting a job, whatever. I'm just gonna start making stuff because I know I need to make animation to get a job in animation, and um, this guy at Adult Swim, his name's Trey Wadsworth. He's a art director there. When I
Trey,
first in Trey Trey.
gotcha.
Um, a piece of advice he gave me that sounds really obvious, but I guess I didn't really understand. Like it's not until you really apply it do you really understand it. But he said, whatever work you put out is the job offers that you're gonna attract. So don't put out work that you don't want to do. Only put out stuff, only make things and post it online of stuff that you're interested in because that's what's people are gonna that's all they're gonna see. So that's what they're gonna come for. Um, and I thought like, oh, I should show like a lot of breadth and style and things. So like I need to do like for a while I was like, oh shit, I should do like stop motion and like rigged 2D animation and stuff and like stuff I wasn't interested in just because I thought, oh, that'll help me get a job. But I wound up just making what I wanted to make before anybody like wanted to work with me with animation. So I put I posted a bunch of stuff on Instagram and slowly started to kind of like connect with people. And eventually I got a freelance job in between one of my internships with Adult Swim, and that was like my first real animation job. And that was like super stressful, but really fun. I just kind of like I just gave it my all, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna work as much as I have to make this good, even if it means essentially getting underpaid, right? Because I was getting paid a certain rate, but working like way more hours than a normal animator would work on this because I was bad or I was slow, you know. But I was like, I just got to make sure I make a good impression, and then from there, that just kind of like got the ball rolling, and then Adult Swim like saw my animations and they're like, "Oh, you want to do animation?" I was like, "Yes, I've told you that." But it wasn't until they saw some of some of the stuff because I didn't really have a portfolio before then, Just had some small things. So it wasn't until I really started making things for myself and then telling people this is what I want to do. I had to tell, like I had to tell Adult Swim and tell people like, hey, I want to do this. I want to work for you, or
Mm.
I want to. This is the sort of thing I want to make. And that's another thing that sounds obvious, like just ask for what you want or tell people what you want. But so many people just don't do that. Um, and it can be hard to do that. But if you just tell people what you want, you'd be surprised at like what can happen of it, basically. Because if they don't know, then, or if you don't tell them, they don't know. People aren't thinking about you that way. It's easy to get in your head like, oh, people see how hard I'm working. They see my passion. They see what I want to be doing. They see the specific route I see for myself, but they don't. Nobody does, and you got to make sure it's crystal clear, if you can, without being like aggressive or anything. But um, I totally had to like create sort of an avenue for myself at Adult Swim by showing people what I wanted to do and what I could do, and telling them, um, and asking basically, if there was a way that I could help with something, for animation. And so that's where like those internships started to branch out for me, from where it wasn't just design. I started helping animate for the bumps for Adult Swim, which, if I
Yeah.
don't know if anybody how familiar y'all are with Adult Swim, but there's
I mean,
always
I
these.
am. I don't know
Yeah.
about others, but I am. Oh, there you go. So I know a couple of them will be. They might know.
Okay. Yeah. Well, cool. Yeah. Adult Swim. They have these animations in between the commercials, and they're usually done by a bunch of different artists. So sorry if you already know what this is, but at the end it says Adult Swim, and so that's what, like, growing up, that's what resonated with me when I was really really young, watching Adult Swim,
Yeah.
before I understood animation. So I just started asking around when I was at the office if there's a way for me to help with that stuff, and I started working on them, and then eventually started making them myself, and then it just kind of steamrolled like a snowball rolling down a hill. It just picked up as people sort of like figured out what I was capable of doing, and then the more experience I got with Adult Swim, the more it helped me like get freelance jobs outside of Adult Swim. And I attributed it mostly to just kind of like being on Instagram, and yeah, pretty much just Instagram. I didn't have a Twitter until like this year. Just I kind of went all in on Instagram because I saw that there was like a nice community for 2D animators there, and I know there's huge like communities on Twitter for animation, especially like if you want to get into the anime industry, go to Twitter, because all of those jobs, people just hire people through Twitter. Um, that's pretty crazy, but that's like how I got
Well, guys.
all of my gigs. Other than the first internship, every other job I've ever gotten, every freelance thing has been through Instagram.
There you go, guys. So if you want to get a job in the animation or anime industry, Twitter is the
Yeah,
way.
if you want to do anime, do Twitter. Twitter is where you need to go, and start following people who make like Sakuga, who make animation for anime, and post your shit, and eventually I promise you will get hired, because in Japan they don't pay very well, but they produce so much animation. There are so many shows that, and they go through so many animators. It sounds terrible, but like if you want to get some experience and just work on a professional job, um, you probably will get hired. They need animators. So they even bring on a lot of people that maybe shouldn't be brought on, who aren't ready. Um, and they do that just because they have to. But it's a good opportunity for those animators, because they get to work closely with the key animators who are doing all like the key poses and everything. And I know that sometimes I've heard that like some animators they've hired are a little green or a little inexperienced, but I think that's kind of amazing. I think that's the best way to learn, is on the job like that. So um, go to Twitter if you're interested in that sort of thing. I know so many people who've gotten jobs through that, for to work on crazy shit like Boruto and My Hero Academia and Jujutsu Kaisen. It's all through Twitter, man. It's
Oh, I
surreal.
have heard stories about that. Yeah, by just being on Twitter, you get hired, and like it's crazy. It's insane, dude.
Yeah. Yeah,
So go
they
ahead.
do outsource so much of like anime productions now are made all over the world. I mean, everybody's working on it.
Yeah, pretty much. I feel like that's something that it's been happening since let's say pandemic. Like
Yeah.
doors were open to anybody now work at anime. Even this Medi Auchi,
Yeah, I know that guy.
what's his name as well? Quentin Cordonier as well. But there's a lot of people that I have seen that they from Instagram they start getting these jobs. No, Quentin Tarantino. Come on, get out of here, Marcelo. But yeah, like definitely. So there are a couple of things I would like to just uh, mention again because I feel like that was really really interesting. That you say that like you let's say you were applying to all these studios and you're still wearing like not getting hired or not even getting back. That's like you say. Sometimes it's frustrating, and I feel like I just want to let you know, guys, all of you over here listening, that this is something that happened to everybody. It's not something that will happen to you. And like Shane say, like you need to apply a ton, like dozens of the studios. Don't give up. Something that's really interesting that I hear is that you pretty much decided to start your own project, and that's why talking to Trey, your our director, I think at Adult Swim, you
Yeah,
say,
yeah,
he mentioned that you should start your own projects and show the work that you want to be hired for.
yeah.
And that's super, super key. That's why I always tell you guys, like, hey, guys, you should be focusing on the things you like as well. Find what makes you tick, so you can explode that. And maybe by you doing that, that's the job that you will attract as well. And
Yeah.
asking for what you want, dude, that's awesome, man. Like, honestly, that I feel like that's a really, really good thing because a lot of people don't do it. It's like you say, a lot of people don't just go and ask for what they want. They just accept, like they say yes to what they receive.
It's a valuable skill. It's hard to learn. I'm still learning it. It's difficult. It's difficult to but it's no, it's good. Um, and yeah, like said, you were gonna if you wanted to talk about the short animation stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. So
maybe that's a good segue because that's the advice I got from Trey was to just start like experimenting and making my own stuff. If I wasn't attracting interest from others, just start making things, because that's what it's all about. That's why we all started this, is just to like make work ourselves. And then at some point, at a certain age, we're thrust into the world and need to like make money and make a living. And it's something that has to be done. But the whole reason we got into this was because we enjoyed it, and we wanted to make things for ourselves just as much as for others. So like I felt that maybe I was starting to lose sight of that a little bit because I was so focused on like just making it, the quote unquote making it.
hmm,
Um,
yeah.
when at the time too, like the skills I had were like, I was like, I just gotta make it. It's like, okay, well, you also have to get better, but you also have to like continue to be interested in what you're doing. So um, I started. Sorry, I'm reading some of these things as I'm talking, but
It's okay.
I started. I decided to systematically tackle the things I wanted to learn because I had seen this other talented animator, Benji Brook, who is kind
Yeah.
of like a mentor of mine. He's fantastic. He originally started out. Actually, I don't know where he started out, but he was at Netflix for a while. Directed a few things there. He directed Love, Death, and Robots, or he was the animation director on Love, Death, and Robots. Kill Team Kill, one of the
Yes.
episodes from Volume 3. Um, Now he's at HBO, but this was like 6 or 7 years ago, and I had noticed that like I was stalking his Instagram account, and I scrolled like super fucking far back, because I wanted to see if because his work is so good. I wanted to see if there was any like bad work, or if he ever posted anything that like has at this point like aged, if he's aged out of it to where like you look at him, you're like, okay, yeah, like you can see the growth. So I scrolled like all the way back, and like a long time ago, he was posting a bunch of like really, really short, simple animations that were focusing on just like one movement, one sort of like mechanic,
Mm.
or one general idea. And that inspired me to learn to try to like build a system for myself of like how to tackle all the things that I wanted to learn. Because there's so many, right? Like I wanted to animate fight sequences. I wanted to animate camera movements, but at that point, I had barely even done like walk cycles or the bouncing ball. You know, I'd done some of that stuff, but I hadn't really tackled like character acting or anything at that point. Um, so like every week, I just picked something that I wanted to learn, but something like very specific, Um, and then I did it to the highest quality possible that I could. And if it took more than a week, I took more than a week. Sometimes I would spend a month on like one 3-second animation just to like try to understand it and commit it to memory, or I guess not memory, but like just fully understand it and become aware of
Mm.
it and get practice in drawing that certain way or whatever. And it's what people do all the time with like, when they go take gesture drawing classes or when they study anatomy. So that's what I was trying to do with animation, but picking like really, really specific stuff, like somebody hopping a fence, um, a certain way, like somebody putting on a sweater, and then it got even more like specific, like throwing throwing a spear, and then I started like just copying sort of like stuff I saw like in anime, where they would do like, I don't know, some sort of like camera turn. And so like, okay, I'm gonna try to do that exact same thing with my own character and just change it a little bit. But I'm gonna like break down um, the drawings they did and scrub through it, frame by frame, um, and kind of like mimic and figure out like the spacing of the drawings. And so I just kept studying and making these short things. And for a while, it felt like I wasn't doing anything, and I was like, oh man, I need to like make a film or make a short film or something. But I did that for like 3 years probably, of trying to make as many animations as I could, and then I realized at the end of that I'd learned like a lot of stuff, and that I had a pretty big like arsenal of like things I was comfortable doing, like types of motion and types of animation, as well as illustration. And all throughout that whole process, I got better at anatomy and perspective and composition. Um, but I think that was really valuable for me to isolate things and not get distracted by the big picture and not get like stressed out about like, I didn't care about the story. Really didn't even care about the
Exactly.
character design. I didn't care about whatever wasn't helping me learn that specific thing. I didn't give a shit about. So if I didn't need to know if I didn't need to do color for this certain thing that I was working on, then I didn't, it was black and white, or it was just the line work. I only ever integrated things that I needed to help me learn that specific thing. And I think that really helped like me learn faster and learn specific stuff. And then years later, it can like I wanted to cash in on all that stuff that I'd learned. I was like, okay, well, I want to take everything that I've learned, all these like little bite-sized pieces that feel like they haven't amounted up to anything, and I'm gonna combine all of them and make like a little short film. And that's something I just finished beginning of this year. Hopefully, it'll come out soon. But
Oh, I was gonna ask you about
yeah,
that.
it's done.
It's done?
It's done. It's a music video. Halfway through, I was working on this short film. I started it at the end of 2019, and I finished it in February of this year. So fucking 2.5 years almost. But halfway through working on it, I got in contact with a music artist. His name's Lorn, Lorn. He makes like
Okay.
dark, gritty electronic music. Kind of sounds like cyberpunky, kind of like Blade
Okay.
Runner. And we decided we wanted to do something together, and we wanted to do a music video. And I wound up like sort of pivoting this short film that I've been working on and turned it into a music video and changed a lot about it, and then worked on it for like another year and a half, for him. And so now it's done, but we're waiting on, I'm waiting on him to really figure out when he wants to release this album that this song is off of. But that was my first, like in 2019, that was me sort of like starting to cash in on all of those like studies that I had worked on. But all that work I did attracted a lot of, jobs for me. Um, because maybe I think some people saw like some specific stuff, where like for a while I went on like a binge where all I wanted to do was like hands and animate hands and stuff. So I animated like a bunch of hands, like cut, like cutting paper and like some surreal stuff where I made this animation of like someone twisting their thumb off, and their other hand was like a flask or something, and they popped their thumb off like a cork. So I worked with like hands a lot, and then I got it like I got hit up by a dude who was doing a music video for Denzel Curry, the rapper, and he was like, "Hey, dude, I saw this thing. Can you do
Oh
something like
wow.
this for this?" And I was like, "Sure." And I got brought on to do like hands because there were a few shots where like Denzel Curry's like rolling up a blunt and smoking, and they needed somebody to draw the hands and stuff. And I don't think they wanted it to be like rotoscoped, which would be usually the natural way to do it because it's a little bit quicker. But it has a particular look. Not knocking rotoscope or anything, but I think they wanted it to be different looking, maybe more like naturalistic kind of. Um, so that yeah, like some stuff came out of it, you know. Everything that I did during that like 3 year period of doing these little studies helped me out, not just like creatively, but professionally. Met a lot of people through that too.
Wow.
Um, yeah, it was pretty fun. I
And
wasn't.
this.
Yeah, sorry,
Oh, go
I'm
ahead. No,
rambling.
no, go
No, no,
ahead.
no,
Go
no.
ahead.
Well, I wasn't being too like regimented with it or anything. It's not like
Mm.
I was putting myself through the ringer and saying like, okay, I have to work this much every day. I have to make a piece every week or something. I would just work on the piece until it was done, and I just had this long list of shit that I wanted to make that were like
Nice.
short little things, you know. And every week I would see something new that some other artist would make, and I'm like, okay, I want to learn how to do that. So then I would try to do it.
It seems to me that you were driven by passion rather than, like get it perfect. And I feel like that's a problem that the art community must suffer sometimes. Like I need to be perfect so I can publish it, or it needs to be perfect to be published or posted or put it on my portfolio, apply. We all wait on that, and that's what I feel like you man, like you were going to be a right fit for this conversation, because it's definitely it shows you're telling us like that's what worked for you pretty much when on doing these small animations, and then you try to learn the specific things that you wanted to do. Like you even like for look for references, things that you really like to or want to learn. And even 3 years of doing this, my question to you is, you were working at the same time where you were doing this?
Yeah, yeah. I was working at so like when I started doing that, I can't remember what year it was. It was probably like 2015. I was had one more year of school, so I was doing that while I was in school, occasionally doing the freelance job. Um, and then I contracted for Adult Swim for like a year and a half out of college because they didn't have open positions, um, but they had like freelance budgets, and so I was kind of like working like 30 hours a week for them, so like not quite full time. So in my free time, I would work on these animations, and every once in a while, like I would be able to do some animation for Adult Swim, but I think a lot of it was on my own time, a lot of that exploration and study. So it can be grueling, but I had a fun doing it, and when I didn't want to do it, I didn't do it. I studied something else. There is like a breaking point. You can't push yourself too hard, and it's be kind of like stressful when you see all these really talented artists and it seems like they never stop working. And there's definitely a lot of people out there who work 80-hour weeks, and then
Yeah,
you look at their work from a year ago and you're like, holy shit, you are progressing so quickly. But I don't know. I don't have that in me. Like I get burnt out really easily. So whenever I was feeling burnout coming on, I would just like do something else, like like creatively, like artistically. Whenever I was getting frustrated or stuck with animation, I would spend like a week or two or a month on just illustration or design work, just mess around with type or something, just to like distract myself and learn a few other things. And then you come back to animation like hungry. But I couldn't treat it like a regimented, like militaristic type of learning because it was just too it took some of the fun
it's
away
too
from me.
stressful.
It's too
Yeah,
stressful. And so and like sometimes when you're working a job, it feels like that, and that's just it sucks, but that's just life. Sometimes like you'll be thrown into the fire. But if you're learning, whatever environment is best for you, that's the environment you got to like create for yourself. Um, if it works for you, it works for you, And the way it works for me is to not be stressed and to have fun. and just kind of do it on my own time. And maybe it'll take longer, you know. I definitely like took me longer to learn some things than some people who went to school for it, but you know, it's all part of the process. Everybody learns differently and at different rates.
I think that's something that is being consistent. You know, like being consistent
Yeah,
at
yeah,
small
just be
stuff.
consistent. That's the only thing.
Yeah,
Just be consistent, you know?
yeah.
Like you don't have to work guns a blazing 80 hours a week, but just be consistent, you know? Don't try not to let a week go by where you're not doing something that's trying to advance what you want, you know? Realistically, try to spend, everybody says this, but try to spend like an hour a day,
Yeah,
if you can, squeeze it in if you can. It's okay if you can't, but yeah, just be consistent. It's the gaps of time that kill you. It's not so much the speed at which and intensity with which you can work. It's a war of attrition.
wow.
That's what everybody's work. Like just be consistent. Consistency is what gets you to where you want to be. And occasionally dial up the intensity for fun. See what you can handle. See what it's like. But don't burn out. Don't let yourself burn out. A lot of these artists are going to burn out. A lot of people burn out. I think the older you get, you'll start to see the way the way some people work. It's not sustainable. You reach a breaking point one way or another. So you have to be careful about that for sure. It's happened to
I
me
really
before.
like
Like
that from you. Like it seems that you're someone who learn and you're aware of how you work. You're aware of like where is your limit. So you learn how to step away and not necessarily stepping away of like, stop everything. I'm not gonna draw, I'm not gonna animate, I'm not gonna do anything. You just like move to something similar, but where you can find as well something to learn, like
mhm.
typography, letters, illustration. So that's really interesting to see this. Like, like you apply it and actually it's working out for you.
I think that's what saves me from getting bored and getting burnt out is like, yeah, like stepping away from it. And animation is so frustrating. It's so
Yeah.
hard. And drawing is hard. Like it's hard. And it doesn't come naturally. Like it doesn't come naturally to me. It really doesn't. It's something I really enjoy, but like it's like pulling teeth sometimes, you know? And I think a lot of artists feel this way. And all you see though online is these beautiful things, right? But like you don't you don't always get to see this blood, sweat, and tears that goes into it. So I guess also understand like the more you work, the more you understand like okay, everybody has their battles. Everybody goes through the same shit, and this is difficult stuff. Like when you feel burnt out or when you feel discouraged, like you're justified in that because it's hard. It's
Yeah.
hard to sit down and do this stuff all the time, and um, I love that GIF that Corky
Yeah,
sent.
I can see you
Yeah,
doing that definitely.
yeah, I get upset. Sometimes it's really frustrating, the word like it's terrible when like you work on something all day or for like a week and it's not working. You just have to throw it in the trash and start over. But it happens. But yeah, stepping away from it and working on like some sort of like supplementary thing that sort of is still building on the skills I want, but it's not the exact thing.
Yeah.
All animation is, if you're interested in 2D, all it is just drawing. Like the best 2D animators are the best drawers, and the best drawers can become really good animators really quick, like scary fast, because it's the fundamentals of animation are fairly simple. It's also just like how good are you at observing life. So ultimately the better draftsman, the better drawer you are, the better animator you'll be. So if you get sick of animation, just draw, and don't care
Um,
about the motion and draw whatever you want. Um,
hmm.
like learn a new way of drawing, and then come back to animation later. That's what I always do. Whenever I hit a wall, I take a break for as long as I can um, before like work or responsibilities pull me back, and I just do something else. Usually, I think my happy place is I work with type. I just like lay out type.
Oh,
I
okay.
just look. I find
Okay.
like a bunch of yeah. I just find like a typeface I like, and I start like modifying it, and I just lay it on top of shit. I just take like images from the internet and like grayscale them and put type over them and make like fake like magazine covers and fake like book covers, and it's really relaxing for me.
Uh,
But it has like just the right amount of like creative like it takes just a little bit of creative energy to do that. It doesn't take your full attention. So like you can throw a movie on and do that, but you're engaging your brain. You're keeping it active. You're keeping you're keeping your creativity going, and it's therapeutic for me to do that, and it kind of like gets me through some shit, I guess.
That's really interesting. I actually do almost the same because sometimes I like to do a little bit of graffiti, a lot of like tagging, and as well I like to work on graphic design. That's my background. But now that you mention it, it seems yeah, it's I totally relate with that. Like I have by myself when I feel like I want to do something fun and just quickly I just go and invent like maybe like a little brand or even do this silly drawing with like, a little bit of like type or
Yeah,
it is therapeutical, you could say. It's awesome.
yeah, just have fun. Yeah, trying to just like have fun again, because yeah, when art starts to like, it's weird. Like art for me before I started working in the industry had only ever given me like happiness. It only ever been a source of happiness because it was a hobby. It wasn't something I relied on. And as soon as I had to do it every day, where it wasn't like a choice I was always making, there were some days where like I woke up and I found myself saying, I don't want to do this, but I had to. I had to pay the bills. Um, and sometimes I had to work on shit I didn't want to work on. And so for the first
Mm.
time ever, art was causing me stress and anxiety and sadness. And so that was like a really weird experience. So to like back away from that and just to like try to break it back down to its roots, just do something for the fun of it and not worry about posting it online and not worrying about people seeing it or not worrying about it making money for you can be like a really therapeutic thing, you know? Um, yeah.
And I
I don't know.
think
That's
those
my
things,
outlook on it.
no, and I feel like there's something interesting that you're saying up here is that what I see that you do is like you learn a lot of like different skills, very specific skills, and just for the sake of fun. What can I pick from this, and what can I see and understand from you is that you're as well someone do that you don't know when are you going to use certain skill, but you just trust that it's gonna make sense in the future to help you get better.
Yes.
And that's something that is really interesting because there's a lot of people like to connect dots. Like it's someone that, okay, maybe I will learn about music, and I don't know yet if I want to be a musician, but maybe in the future, if I have a project related with music, I already have a basis that I can rely on, and that's a really good way to actually learn stuff. Become independent, but pretty much as well.
Yeah. That's a great point. And and what to add to that, what makes artists interesting and what makes artists unique is their other interests outside of like what they do for like what they do. You know, like the best animators, their style comes from like their style of like their interest in music and fashion and if they like chess or if they like ketchup or they like carnivals or whatever like weird stuff they're into if they're into music what that's like infers what they make and how they make it and like design choices they wind up going with and it all builds on itself. It's like the more interesting things you can let into
Hey,
your life
dumb
the better.
question.
Verb, I think your mic
Sorry,
is
sorry.
you're
My
good.
mo- my mic.
All good, man.
But
Yeah,
yeah.
I want to ask about time. Like, how are you with time? Are you good? Can you spare a little bit more time over
Yeah,
here?
I'm good. This is the time I usually spend just chilling and like drawing. So I'm happy. Like I'd much rather be doing this than fighting over a
Okay,
drawing right now.
I got a question, guys. We like to join maybe a Magna Studio so we can all draw together.
It's Shane.
Yeah, of
Huh?
course. We did the same with
Ooh.
Daniel. We did the same with Daniel Cuervo. Actually, we did a Gartic fun. It was really fun. We did a. Oh, actually, we can try to do a Gartic fun. Actually,
Animation Garticle. Ooh.
yeah, let's do a Gartic fun. Are you? Do you know what is that, Shane?
I don't. I don't.
Okay, well, so we're gonna play a game for animation. You're gonna love it.
Oh
Okay.
no. Okay, let's do it.
But okay. So before we go into that, um, quick, let's take a quick break. So if you guys in the chat you want to ask a question, go ahead right now. I just want to get some water, and let's finish up with the question of like I think this is the huge what I think is the juice of the conversation. If you can give us a breakdown on how long does it take you to do a small animation and what are the steps as well, do you have a small team, is it all by yourself? So let's just have a second, a minute, 5 minutes to take a break, get some water, if you guys have any questions, go ahead, Shane. You are more than welcome to answer them.
Yeah.
Perfect. Marcelo, no, you don't need to cancel it. Just like if you can start right now, one for Gartic Fund, so we can join. It will be really helpful. All right, give me 1 sec, guys. I'll be right back.
Yes. Jane, would you also like to go for water, or are you good?
No, it's okay. I'm good.
Okay, nice. Got a question. Because I thought Dancho was going to ask about time management, but he didn't.
Oh yeah.
How do you deal with that, by the way? How do you manage
Badly.
your time? Badly? No, don't say that. No.
It's no. I mean, I take it seriously, but it's tough.
Mhm.
I usually get in over my head with too many things. So I have to be careful. That's a kind of a learning experience, knowing when to say no and like how to balance stuff. But yeah, I do make a list every day, like every morning, of like stuff I have to get done for my job,
Okay.
art wise. And I can't remember the name of the book. Oh, it's called Eat That Frog, and it's like a book that a
Oh
a lot of people
yeah, I've
talk
heard of
about.
it.
I'm sure you've heard
Yeah,
it many times. But
Right,
yeah.
Tracy.
a lot of influencers talk about that book too. Like a lot of those business bro influencers talk about it. But it's basically about how you tackle like the hardest thing that you have to do right at the beginning of the day.
First, yeah.
And I try to do that. Sometimes I fail and I put it off. But yeah, I don't know. Time management. Yeah, I mean, I get things done on time most of the time.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know.
Mhm.
I try to I try to be organized as best I can. Like,
Mm.
but I have to jump around to a lot of different projects throughout the day. It can get a little stressful. So really, as long as I have like an overhead view of like all the things that need to get done, then it's usually fine. That's
Oh,
probably a
all right.
terrible answer. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. No worries. It's good. It's good advice, though. And do you still make studies, or now that you're a pro, you don't have
Oh,
to?
geez, I don't know. I don't know if I would consider myself a pro, but I do definitely still
Yeah.
do studies. Not as much. Um, right now, I am like more interested in just diving into like longer form projects, but I do every once in a while, probably like six. I don't want to put a number on it, but probably like 6 times a year, probably like every other month, I'll spend like a couple weekends or a couple evenings, like doing something new or doing something that I haven't had the opportunity to do on a job, like something really
Oh,
specific that doesn't
okay.
that I would never get paid for, like, but that's something that I want to learn and hopefully like do in the future.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I definitely still
Okay.
do that. It's like it's like a itch that builds up for me, or like I won't do any of those things for a while, and then I'll be like, I have to animate somebody blowing up a building with a laser, and then I do it for fun.
Cool. Um, and wait.
Wait, Andy.
Yeah,
Oh,
sorry.
no, you're good. Let's do this, Shane. I see a couple of questions over here in the chat.
Yep.
So let's try to do this. Let's try to answer them. Like not too
Yeah.
long.
I
Like
won't be long-winded. I promise.
Gotcha.
1 to
All
2
right,
sentences.
perfect. So the first question is from
Okay.
Kate512, and it says, "What do you think is important for resume for jobs?"
Whatever specific stuff is on the job opening, if you have experience doing it, put that in your resume, like word for word almost. If they say experience with Adobe Creative Suite, put that in your resume because they'll keyword search to eliminate resumes for the first round. That's something I didn't know.
Ooh.
So like if you have a job where it's like for animation and it's like experience in Toon Boom and Adobe Animate, put in your resume somewhere saying I did this thing, you proficient in these tools, whatever. Say what they say so that you don't get cut out because some of these bigger studios they filter first round that way. That's the first thing that
Nice.
came to mind. That's like an easy thing to do, to put in there. Show them
Nice.
what they're looking for.
Perfect. Okay, again from Kate512. What do you think are good things to learn before getting into the industry?
Being a nice person, being like
Super
communicating
important.
with others, playing nice, and let's see. I would say this is difficult to do, but try to get as much breadth as you can before you start going into specific things. So
Hmm.
learn as much as you can about a bunch of different stuff. If you're interested in animation, learn anatomy, learn how to draw animals, learn how to do color, but also learn how to do design. Try to experiment a bit, but don't get too. Make sure you're focusing on what you want to do, but be open to learning new things. Because I think also that that'll show through your portfolio when you're getting an entry level job. I think people like to see breadth a lot,
Sorry.
and interest in things beyond the job at hand, so that they know you're capable of doing more. And also, that's the kind of mentality that's good to have on a team, as somebody who's like wants to learn and is interested. But ultimately, I'd say be pleasant. Get practice at communicating with others, because that's a big part of the job.
So we have another question from Shippy. Can you tell us about any difficulties you had to face in your journey?
Yes. Great question. So many difficulties. I truly did not understand how how to properly in between for like 4 years, and it was something that I think just like I never had proper um, animation training or education. So I think for a while I was always building my animations in a weird way, kind of doing them like straight ahead, sort of. And it wasn't until I met some animators or I got to see their process, where I saw the way they did stuff, and they just always do the keys first. They always do the breakdowns, which the way I was told, breakdowns are like the easing in and out, slow in, slow out of the keys, the key drawings, and then you put your in betweens. And I always just sort of thought in betweens were like, oh, they're drawings that aren't the keys, but they should be. Most of the time, in between should literally be a drawing that's perfectly in between two other drawings. And once I understood that basic principle that I think a lot of other people understood before I did, it helped me sort of like break down in my mind how to like build animations out, spend more time on my keys. But really, like, just not knowing that was kind of a hindrance for me. That was a huge struggle. That was definitely a big difficulty of mine.
Okay. All right. Let's have the last two questions. I really like this question over here. It says, "What inspires you, Shane? Like, what made you pick up the pencil and go, yeah, this is my thing?"
I think it was started out as Spider-Man comic books and Sonic the Hedgehog. And I know, and then it was anime. So it was kind of like all the stuff I enjoyed seeing as a kid was all 2D animation. And once I figured out how that stuff was made, I just became obsessed with wanting to learn how to draw and wanting to learn how to animate. But I think my biggest inspirations, like overall as an animator, are definitely Akira, Katsuhiro Otomo.
Oh,
Akira,
yes.
probably my biggest inspiration. Because I saw that at a young age, and it really blew my mind. And I just didn't understand how it was possible to make something move like that with just drawings. And then Tarzan, seeing Tarzan, that Disney movie for the first time, was crazy. Glenn Keane is like one of the greatest animators of all time. He was like the animation director for that movie, and he worked on Beauty and the Beast and like all the classic like Renaissance 2D Disney movies, like what is it called, Little Mermaid and stuff. Yeah, those are definitely my two biggest inspirations: Tarzan Akira.
Nice.
Studio Ghibli also, of course.
Okay, and I lost the question. I think it was really good. It's just that there are so many questions that are really good. It's just for the time's sake. All right.
Yeah.
So let's go with this one. What would you say is the best approach to learning more or wanting to do more?
Wanting to do more. I guess I would have to say sort of what I said before. Just
Yeah.
dissect it into small pieces and like try to just systematically tackle whatever you want to be doing. If you want to be doing more, I mean, you gotta be doing more of the right thing in the right way. If you throw more hours at a problem, at more time at a problem, you might not solve it if you're not doing it the right way. So also give some time on being like sort of self-reflective on like what you want and what are some other ways you can obtain it. Um, Figure out a path for yourself, and then yeah, just like stay calm, stay relaxed. Know that people are just winging it, so just go for it. And yeah, I would say systematically try to like break it apart into bite-sized pieces that are less scary, and then it's always easy to take on more of those things.
Awesome. Well, thank you, man. All right, guys. So let's continue. I'm gonna be sending you right now the link for the Gartic Fund.
Okay.
Well, actually, Marcelo, did you already send it to him?
Oh, maybe. Hold on. Yes.
Right.
Okay, hold on one second.
Just join over here.
Okay, sorry. Give me a second. I'm like illiterate when it comes to stuff like this. Okay.
Okay.
Is it all done through the web browser?
Yeah. All right. Give me
Okay.
one. So, hello.
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 Sorry, I heard a little bit Discord. I don't know what happened. Okay, so perfect. Now, you can go ahead and share the link over here that done chat. Okay, so Shay.
Yeah.
The big question, huge thing. Tell us what is the secret? How can someone, let's say with this, like, let's say a small short experience, they're starting. How long do you think it will take you to take a small animation? Do you need a team for it? Do you have resources? What does your pipeline look like? Do you
All
have
great
any
questions.
deadlines as well?
I would say in the real, well, if I'm working on by myself, I'll work by myself and I'll take whatever time I need to figure out something. But I've spent like 3 months on like 4 seconds, because it was
Wow.
like I did a bunch of shading and it was like painterly, like dissolve spray type shading. But a real world application, like at my job, where part of my responsibilities are making animation for on air for the bumps. Those animations are 15 seconds. They take me 2 weeks to a month. Half the time I would do it by myself, and half the time I work with like two or three artists. So if I do it by myself, I definitely scale back, the ambition. And then it'll take me like probably 2 weeks to a month, depending on the style. And I start by doing thumbnails and sort of like writing up just with words like my intention of what I want to do, and I make a sort of like a mood board with images from the internet of stuff that inspires me for this idea I have, and that's how I'll pitch it to like my creative directors. And then from there we whittle it down and I start working on the storyboards, and then I jump right into animation from there. And I guess somewhere during that process, I create a couple style frames so that my directors can see like what the finished product will look like. So I bring like a couple frames, and a couple frames that might not even be in the finished animation. I bring them to like total completion so that I can figure out just as much as my directors can see what this could look like, and then I finish it. So, but when I'm working with a team, oftentimes I'll work with some people when I have a specific thing in mind. I'm not the best with backgrounds and background painting, so if I get to work with a team, if I have the budget for that or the time, then I will usually like decide to angle the project to utilize like cool backgrounds, and I'll get a background artist to help me with that. So I'll do some rough sketches, or maybe I won't have anything and I'll let them do their thing with just like a description of what I want. And then I'll usually have an animator to help me. Sometimes, a few times I've gotten a character designer when I somebody that I've worked with in the past who can help me design the whole thing. So I can focus more time on just the animation. But I think the pipeline is pretty much the same for those sorts of projects that I do for Adult Swim. And yeah, about 2 weeks to a month. I'm responsible for this. I hate that they say this. They say 1.5 a month. Because like sometimes they want
1.5
2
months.
and sometimes they need 1. So I hate that because it's not, like I would prefer to be like, I'd prefer to have 1 a month, or I'd prefer for them to just straight up say you have 2, you have to do 2 a month.
Mm.
So that I just know. But sometimes it's like it's whatever's going on with our on air. Maybe we have to fill more time or something, so we need more bumps. So sometimes I'm responsible for 2. So yeah, I have to work inside those constraints of maybe I only have 2 weeks to do something. So that's not that much time. It's enough time to get it done, but you have to work smart. So to talk again about all those times I spend experimenting, I try to never experiment on the job when money and time are on the line, because I don't want to fail.
Oh,
So
that's interesting.
I try not to go too far out of my comfort zone when I'm working on a job like that, especially a job that's like really, really fast paced. So I try to only do stuff that I've done before, or stuff that's like stuff I've done before, so I feel comfortable with it. And I try to, because that's not the environment that I work well in when I'm trying to do something I've never done. It happens sometimes where you have to just figure stuff out, or you have an idea that's too tempting and you're like, I just want to do it for this. Screw it. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. And I definitely do that sometimes, but I try to like reel it in and be like, all right, let's let the study time be the study time. Let this work time be stuff that I know I can like knock out of the park, basically.
Story time is for story time. I like that. I feel like that's a lot of things that I can see in the past that I tried to do, and then I was like, oh, actually, I wish I shouldn't be doing this at the job, But yeah, definitely, that's awesome.
I hope that answered all the
Hey.
questions there. Is that everything?
Yeah, I mean, there's only one part. Usually this is where I feel like we are lacking over here is about the post production part. Like, how long does it take you to edit, put it all together,
yeah.
like
Put it
put
all
all the
together.
pieces together into like the final product?
For something that's like 10 seconds, 15 seconds, it will take me 2 weeks, 80 hours, 80 to 100 hours. And, the different stages of working on it, sometimes I spend more time on the planning phase and the design phase. But usually, I'd say 99% of the time, the most time consuming part is the tie down and cleanup.
Hmm.
The animation, usually takes me like 30% of the time, but the tie downs, like bringing it on model and cleaning everything up, takes me the longest, especially when I'm working by myself. And then maybe like I probably only spend like a day or 2 on the final like edit. Once all the animation is done, all the color, it's all finished, I'll spend like a couple days, maybe a day or 2 on like the final the compositing.
Got it.
Final little like extra secret sauce, like color correcting and some effects that aren't like in the normal pipeline, like I don't know. Mainly it's just color correcting and like grain and little shit that's like easy to add after the fact in post. I don't allow much time for that. I spend as much time as I can during like the animation phase.
Awesome, man. No, that's beautiful, and I feel like this is definitely helpful for us. Like as soon we start, like I tell you, we're gonna be. Our plans is to actually start releasing this mini projects together here, and like try to actually reply or replicate what you were trying to like you were been doing for the past couple of years. Like I do believe that that's actually the way, not only to, let's say, to just get a job at the industry, but as well like to know to show the work that you want to do or you want to get hired, and as well to learn how to ask for what you want. I feel like that's those are the when you mention that, I feel like that's the most relatable thing that I want for this server.
That's awesome. Yeah, yeah. If you put out, if all you want to do is um, you just want to draw alligators, you might not get many jobs, but the jobs you get will be for alligators. That's for damn sure.
There you go, Corgi. That's for you, Corgi. She loves to draw corgis all the time, everywhere, and
Oh yeah,
they're
oh
coming
yeah.
for you, the corgi people.
I will be
Okay,
You
so I
get
happy.
think
all
we
the
can.
all the corgi jobs will be yours.
There is
Okay, so let's
someone
get.
that only does corgis, and they can go massively huge doing corgi animations.
I'm telling you, man, you have it. You had it. You got the niche. Okay, Marcelo, maybe we can start. By the way, you set it up in Spanish. Like, what do you want to try to do? Poor Shane. Well, Shane, I guess you got to learn Spanish with us now.
Animación.
Animación, señor. Yes. All right, so let's start doing the animation. I think animation.
Is
Marcelo,
Pipi
Marcelo.
here? No, right? No more Among Us, please.
No more Amogos. No more Amogos, please. The only thing that she dropped.
But by the way, Shane, thank you so much for answering all the questions that we had.
Dude, yes.
And yeah,
Of
thank you
course,
so much
have
for
to.
your time.
No worries.
It's funny. Marcelo got to got to go to eat, I guess. Oh no, Marcelo, are you there? I think he's out. All right. Let me see if I can create.
Nanto, do we keep recording or we stop here?
I wanted to ask him a little bit more about Ambient Swim,
Okay.
but be more like a little bit more casual. Like we're gonna be drawing together. So I mean, we can finish up the recording over here. I feel like pretty much the information is here. If you don't mind, we can keep recording a little bit more. Maybe a couple of gems will show up here.
Okay. Um.
Up to you right now.
Yeah, because I have to go in like 20 minutes. So. But maybe we can stop the recording here. And then if someone else can record the next section, is welcome to do it. But I will have to stop here. Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. So give me 1 second. I'm gonna do a new room because Marcelo's AFK.
Oh, but I wanted to play in Spanish.
Yeah, I don't know what happened to him.
Make it
Rayos.
English.
All right, guys. So what do you think guys, about the conversation that we just had? Does anybody has a question, comment? What was the most important thing you learned today? Go ahead. You can share in the chat, or you
Take
can
your
unmute yourself
time
and go ahead.
to give you some bread.
Man.
You can. I swear to God, Twitter. It's the secret sauce.
That was new. Definitely.
LinkedIn. I don't have a LinkedIn.
Bro, what the hell is
I don't
going
know
on with
many
this?
people who have LinkedIn.
I have a LinkedIn and I have zero idea how you use it.
Networking is your best friend.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of the guys. Well, I don't know. In the conversation, just listening to Shane, I feel more inspired to keep going with our plans on our gym.
Yeah, I usually tend to green, but I think that's not
like
Oh,
necessary.
okay.
It's easy to get burnt out.
Okay, so Shane, you are the admin.
Oh no. Okay. All right.
All right.
So
So
what
we
do
are
I
in
do
control
here?
of Shane. So let's go to animación.
Okay.
Okay, and do you see a button that says start? There you go. All right, my man is ready for this. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna create the first drawing for the animation. All right,
Oh no.
we're gonna be
Okay.
doing all of us. So the game consists of this, Shane. Pretty much, we're gonna be doing a drawing, and we're gonna get the previous frame from the drawing. So you're
Oh,
gonna
okay.
continue the frame. All right.
Got it. I started, or did somebody
Yeah,
else?
you can go. You already started, man.
Okay.
Like each person has a frame of animation.
I'm late.
Got it.
Sad.
Oh,
Got it.
you know what? I
Yeah.
feel like this is gonna be insane. We're gonna have 18 animations. Wow. Okay, well. Whew. Oh shit.
Okay. Let me.
Oh
It
shit.
will
So
take
if
an hour.
How do I undo? That's I think the only thing.
Control C.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It looks
Control
similar
V.
to Photoshop.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay. Let me
Sim-
get
similar.
my keyboard. Okay.
So how did Ambient Swim happen? How did you get that opportunity?
So my boss that I work for, he's been with Adult Swim for a long time, and we've been talking about maybe doing something for HBO, because we just sort of like merged with HBO and a few other
Warner Media.
companies.
Yeah.
Yeah, Warner Media, and we thought maybe there was something we could do to like help out, because all of our other shows like Rick and Morty and stuff, they're on HBO, but we were wondering if maybe like we could make something internally for the company. And we just kind of like started talking about what's maybe a new interesting type of content that you don't see on streaming services. And I'm sure, you know, if you haven't seen what is that?
That's
Do I
a
have to do something?
timer.
Am I running out of time? Oh my god. Hold on.
If the noise is a little annoying, there's a sound thing that you can turn off.
No, it's okay. I'm done.
Alrighty.
Everyone's confused. No worries, guys. We're gonna go. We're gonna go.
Man. There we go. But
I don't
Ambient
know
Swim
what's going on
is
with my Apple Pencil.
Ambient Swim is like lo-fi hip hop on YouTube. So it's like chill music with loops, like looping animations. And hold on, do I have to draw again here, or what am I doing? Do I wait
Yeah.
for?
So now you're gonna be the next frame of the previous drawing.
Oh, okay.
So they gave you a drawing right now, and now it's up to you to decide what's gonna happen in the next animation.
How do I see? I don't know if anybody gave me one. Maybe I'm messing this up. Hold on. I think it's just blank.
Oh, man.
Oh, maybe someone didn't draw. All right.
It's okay. I'll make one.
Another thing you can do is put notes if you wanna put notes on it. It's basically an icon that has a note pad.
Do you know what? I just saw this comment from a Bongo chat, and it's true. It never feels the same streaming the Adult Swim shows without the bumpers to accompany them. And I mean, yeah, I miss the crazy bumpers, IDs that Adult Swim all the time did.
The bumps, yeah, that's the personality of Adult Swim, you know? It's the blood. That's what we were trying to do with Ambient Swim, was figure out how to like translate that to streaming. So that's kind of what we came up with, was just a collection of like looping animations with cool music, and see if people liked it. And luckily there's kind of like an overlap between people who like watching that kind of stuff on YouTube and people who watch things on HBO. So yeah, I think HBO liked the idea because it was new to them. They didn't really understand what we were trying to do at first, but Sorry, let me mute that. Actually,
pick up their phone, man. They're calling you.
pick up the phone. Yeah, I don't know. HBO was confused when we pitched it because they're like, you want to make all this cool animation, but you don't want people to watch it. You just want them to put it on in the background. But that was our intention. Was to make something that was like passive watching, basically. Yeah, but my boss, his name's Michael Cahill. We came up with this idea and we just kind of like workshopped it together and built a pilot back early last year, where I did some animation and yeah, we pitched it and just started developing it. And now we're here. I think we've done like 6 episodes. We're working on a few more. Not all of them are animation. Some of them are like weird experimental things, but
yeah.
Ooh, I like this drawing I got. That's cool.
What about as well? Like for example, I noticed that the last one, that retro anime. No, the long name. Sorry, let me look it up over here. I have it. In my notes. Neo Mega Ultra Zeta Star.
Yeah.
So okay, tell me a little bit more about that. Like how did that happen for you? Like, did you say, "Oh, I have the right people for this," or it was what came first, the idea, or it was because something that you wanted to do and you just pitched it? How did that happen?
That was we did the first season, which was 5 episodes. Basically as a giant like pilot, you know. Usually you have just 1 episode be a pilot, but we were really experimenting, and so we kind of played it safe the first time around and had like a really small budget, and most of the animation was done by just me. So that was successful for HBO. So they're like, okay, let's do more. And I had to pitch an idea for like a higher end episode, one that would like take more time and would be cooler. So obviously, the thing I wanted to do was I wanted to do anime because I love anime so much. And I just pitched the general idea of let's do an episode that's like a love letter to anime and like 90s retro anime.
Nice.
And they liked that idea, and I already had so many ideas of what we could do for it, and all of my friends on Instagram and Twitter, all my animation friends, they're all really into that era of anime and animation. So I just sort of already knew when I was pitching the idea, I had like a list in mind of like a bunch of artists that I know would be perfect for it, a bunch of animator colleagues of mine, sort of people I've worked with in the past who I knew would knock it out of the park. And as soon as we got like approved to like go start pre-production on it, I sent out like 30 messages on Instagram to a bunch of animators, and asked them if they were down, sort of told them what was happening, and then, you know, like some people couldn't do it because of timing, and but yeah, we got such a good group of people. Basically, like all my best friends got to work on it with me, and some really
Nice.
really talented people. So that was really dope to see.
And it's funny because you work with a lot of Nicola.
Yeah, so many
Nicolas.
Nicholas.
It's so
Yes,
funny, man.
so many. That was an ongoing joke when I was working with a producer on the project who was helping everybody get set up in our system for like paperwork and stuff. And he was like, "How many Nicholases did you hire?" It was so funny. Yeah, like Nicolaus Finizio was another one who worked on it. Such a fun group of people. Daniel Cuervo was amazing.
How did I like? Were you having like this kind of like voice chats with them, working with them, where it was more like something like, okay, this week we're going to work with this artist, and then next week we're going to be working with the other? Do you have any time where all of you guys gather and actually like, you know, watch all the video, all the animation together?
We were really disconnected. We had to do it still pretty quickly, I think like in 3 months, So I was just working one-on-one with everybody over the course of that. So just jumping around like every day, jumping around between conversations on like email and
Wow.
Instagram. And so yeah, everybody had to create their piece in a vacuum, basically, which is kind of fun. Not necessarily ideal, but it would have been fun to collaborate a little bit more. But the nature of it was that like everybody kind of was just going to do their own thing, right? Do their own loop, and it was okay for them to be disconnected because my job was to then take all of those beautiful pieces of animation and connect them together. So it was kind of a process that like was designed to be, you know, kind of independent. But yeah, like we're just kind of jumping around, and I would show everybody like we were all kind of talking to each other like in a group chat, but we would all sort of like share stuff we were working on just to inspire each other, but we weren't really working with each other in that way. Kind of, I was jumping around from piece to piece.
Nice. Right, that sounds interesting though. Like it's pretty much that's why. Okay, that's pretty much what a director does. You know, like overview to you guys, overviews everyone's job. Keep notes. Was that your first time being a director?
Yes. Yeah. Well. Yeah. I would say for animation, absolutely. Yeah. First go at it, which was really cool. Got to work with a lot of talented people, so it made it really easy. But it was dope.
Well, that's good. Like, you know, I believe in that principle of like you should always try to hire or find people that's better than you, because that's a good way as well to learn.
Yes, I learned so much from that. Like, you know, probably as much as they did. I probably learned more than anybody else that worked on that. Because I was just bringing on people who were just really, really like total all stars, and so maybe they got something from me, hopefully. But I think mainly it was me, you know, stealing all of their ideas and information and learning how they work. And I was, you know, as I was sort of working on this thing with them, you know, the way I was directing it was really just making sure we kept the tone right. That was the biggest thing. All these animators are so talented, and I was also letting them do their thing, you know, letting them make what they wanted to make. So it wasn't like I was giving too many notes on their drawings per se or their animation. Sometimes I was, but mostly it was just bigger picture stuff. But what I learned from them was how they work. I got to see their process like in a very intimate way. So that was really cool.
That's my beautiful the beautiful voice of my roommate. Such an artist. If anybody has a question to Shane, something you want to say? I think a couple of you guys were asking about like industry related questions. So if you want, just type it in. I can read it for you. And yeah, nobody's streaming. Yeah, go ahead if you want to share one of the questions, Corgi. What shows are you watching right now, Shane?
I'm watching Obi-Wan.
Oh man,
Yeah, I'm watching that. Pretty good. I am watching Haikyuu. That's how you pronounce it, the volleyball anime.
yeah.
And it's amazing. Yeah, that's all I'm watching right now. I just finished catching up on Jujutsu Kaisen. I watch a lot of anime, and kind of like I watch a lot of movies. Really, I just finished watching. I'd never seen Breaking Bad, so I watched Breaking Bad like a couple months ago.
That's
So that
good.
was really cool. That's definitely a classic.
Okay, there you go.